Have you ever considered a working holiday visa to Australia? What if you became one of the hundreds of thousands of people who take a chance in moving to Australia in search of a better life? What if you then returned back to your home country, only to realise that you'd given up everything by leaving Australia and you now wanted to know what you could do to go back? What a silly mistake. Well, to see if there is a way back from this, I spoke to someone who turned their temporary visa into a new life down under. If it were that easy, everyone would be doing it, right? And if you're looking at moving to Australia and want to know the easiest way for you to be able to live here permanently, then you need to speak to the sponsors of this podcast, True Blue Migration Services. Speak to them today and mention us, and they'll tell you for free exactly what your options are for moving to this beautiful country. Become one of the hundreds of people that we've been able to personally help through this channel, and go onto their website at www.truebluemigration.com. And like our guest today, you could be living out your best life down under. G'day Kim, how's it going?
Hi, good, thank you. How are you?
Very good, very good. How has your day been in sunny Melbourne?
It's been nice, very hot, but the Australians love the aircon, so a bit cold actually.
Yeah, I find that actually. I went into the staff room after we'd done something today, and when no one has been in there for an hour or so, it's like walking into a freezer. And these are absolute first world problems for whinging poms. So
yeah. It is. It's a constant battle, like in the staff room and things. It's like, no, I'm too hot, I'm too cold. So one day I'll win.
Yeah. Goldilocks finds it just right sometimes.
Yeah.
Tell us about your life before you moved to Australia. Who is Kim?
So Kim is a teacher, just turned 30. Just turned 30 technically from Wales, but I moved to Manchester to have a life with my boyfriend. So
that's basically North Wales though, isn't it?
There's like an hour and a half between us, but yeah, it wasn't very far. And yeah, so we had come to Australia already, and then we had to leave because of COVID. So 2019, we went home, bought a house, bought a dog, settled down, thinking that that's it now. We can't go to Australia ever again. And got a job teaching where I'd taught before I went to Australia. Yeah, we just kind of lived day to day, very mundane, boring, usual lives. But yeah, we just
Tell us more about, you came to Australia first.
Yeah, so we came on a working holiday visa just because, again, we were bored. And we thought, we'll just try and see, because I've always wanted to come to Australia, but it's too far to come on holiday. So then when I had a partner who kind of wanted to do things with me, I was like, I'll drag him along, we'll go together, see what it's like. And we came to Melbourne that time as well, and we fell in love straight away. But then we were supposed to do our farm work, and because of COVID, things were not good. And the person in charge was like, basically, if you have enough money, you can stay. If you don't have enough money, go home. And we didn't have enough money, so we went home.
So COVID ruins your potential for, I guess, a longer stay with the working holiday visa. Because if you don't do that farm work, that's your second year pretty much cancelled, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they're changing that now. So had you done it now, maybe there could have been a bit of light at the end of the tunnel for you.
I know. Hindsight's a nice thing. But also, I'm older. That was 4 years ago. So I feel like I wouldn't have waited until now.
Coming to Australia, you said you've always wanted to move here. Mm-hmm. What for you were the most important parts of your move? Or the most important reasons to move to Australia?
As you're aware as a teacher as well, teaching is hard and stressful and sometimes not enjoyable. It was kind of I want to do this job, but I want to enjoy it as well. And I knew that I heard that the life here was a bit slower, a bit easier. I wouldn't say easier, Australians might hear this, but people said it's easier, slower, kind of less responsibility. So I just wanted to see what another life as a teacher was like. And it just, work-life balance was a huge one, basically. And I just wanted to see if it was possible, and it is.
So just for context then, teaching in the UK, how long were you teaching there for?
I'd done 2 years. Yeah, 2 years.
Okay.
And left.
What were the most challenging aspects, the bits that I guess were putting you off teaching in the UK?
Ofsted. Actually being scared that Ofsted would come in every single day. I loved the school that I was in. They were really supportive and nice, but I still felt stress as a teacher. And also just at home on your first year, you have to start shadowing people doing a subject, and then your second year you have a subject with no extra time given to you. And I was like drowning in work. So I was like, this is not normal. So now I'm here. You're not given that responsibility. You have it as an option. So I think that's really good.
So you left Australia after your working holiday visa. What visa are you on then that means that you can come back?
So I came on a 482 sponsorship visa, and then we've just been granted permanent residency on a 190 visa.
Congratulations.
Yeah, really, really, like, it took a long time, but we're here and it was well worth it.
One of the questions I get asked a lot by people who watch this channel is, how do you get essentially a sponsored job if you aren't in Australia? So I'm assuming did you find that from the UK?
So yeah, when I was here the first time, I worked for a company called Tradewind, and it's kind of like an agency. And once you pay a fee, you're given, they kind of support you your whole lifetime. So when I went back home, I just kept getting emails constantly about sponsorships. And I was like, well, I probably won't get it, but I might as well try. And I had an interview and then I got it straight away. So yeah, I was really lucky.
And where's that working? In Melbourne?
In Melbourne, it is. It's not technically rural, but it's not in the city. It's about half an hour to an hour from the CBD.
Yeah, well, that's exactly kind of where I am. And
yeah,
I guess when I tell some people where I live in Brisbane, they're like, that's basically the sticks. You just live in the bush. And I'm like, well, I guess for some people that they do really like the city life. And I grew up in a small seaside town in Kent, and every step I've gone in living in different places, it's got a bit more populated. And I think for me, this is probably about as urbanized as I want to go. I like seeing trees. I like going into the city, don't get me wrong, but that isn't for me the exact kind of lifestyle that I'd want. If choosing between Brisbane City and London City, I definitely would probably choose Brisbane. But
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I guess if you're looking for that heavily urbanized lifestyle, sometimes you might not necessarily find it in Australia. But I guess Melbourne might be a bit different.
Well, so I actually live in South Bank, which is in like basically the CBD, and then I travel to work out in the, not sticks, but basically out in the sticks. So I kind of get the best of both worlds, which is nice.
How is it doing a reverse commute? Because most people that I speak to, they're going the other way, and it's sometimes quite terrible.
One of the bad things about Melbourne is the roadworks are awful, or like awful. It's not as bad this way, because like you say, most people go the other way. It depends on the roadworks. They tend to do it when I'm in school rather than when I'm off, which doesn't make sense. But yeah, it's fine. It's doable.
Now your new life in Melbourne. What's the best parts about it? What do you love about living in Australia?
Genuinely happy. I'm just like, I don't know if it's just my mindset has changed now I live here, but I do more with my time. After work, I'll go to the beach, I'll see my friends, I'll do some yoga or Pilates, I'll want to do something. I don't know if it's because it's brighter still, or there's a lot of factors, but I make the most out of my life here, whereas, I don't know, just life gets you down a bit at home and you just get stuck in a rut. And the mindset has definitely changed. I think as well, again, it sounds stupid coming from the UK, but able to travel, like going to Sydney, so easy, Adelaide, Tassie, like I can just go there for the weekend away. I know I could have done that in Europe. I know it, but I just didn't. But again, that's mindset.
What put you off wanting to travel more in Europe, or prevented you? Maybe that's a better way of saying it.
Yeah, I don't know. First of all, I do get paid much more here, so I feel like I'm not managing my money as much, whereas at home I was constantly like trying to save because I was technically settling down, where here I just constantly feel like I'm just living. I don't know if that will change as I grow a bit older, but for now I feel like I'm just taking every day as it comes, kind of enjoying every experience I can.
Sounds like you found a. I mean, some would say, "Why do you need a new lease of life? You just turned 30." But
Yeah.
it's nice to hear, because if you think about it from the reverse perspective, one of the things that I think about with my life and moving to Australia is the whole. I should have done it earlier. And I think back to just before I even started the migration process, I was maybe 28, 29. And how you're describing it, I felt exactly the same. Is this kind of all to life? I think that was actually one of the questions that I kind of asked myself, like thinking about jobs, situation, and what we had. Although, we were very, very fortunate. But I was like, if this is it, like, I want to see what else there is that you can have. So to hear that just that move for you has invigorated your passion with wanting to do extra things. I mean, on that travel note as well, a lot of people say, oh yeah, but I'd love to go and visit Europe. There's so many English people that don't really kind of
No.
do that. Or perhaps would prefer visiting other parts of the world, Southeast Asia. I'm half Filipino, you're half Filipino. Visiting family there is a lot cheaper than from Australia than it would be coming from the UK, a lot quicker. So
Yeah.
it's just saying, I can't go and visit Europe as much as I perhaps want to. There's so much more culture. Well, Southeast Asia is a lot more accessible to me. I've got some of these weird South Pacific islands that probably if I didn't live here, I never would have visited, because that would be even further. So to say, I can't visit those places, well, you just visit a load of different ones, mate. Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not the end of
exactly.
the world.
And when I go home every now and then, I'll just pop to Italy or France or wherever, just on my way home.
Just on your way, just
Yeah,
before. Or
yeah,
ironically, you might probably get a cheaper flight actually flying into Italy and then getting a Ryanair or something on the way.
exactly.
There you go. Never. No one really kind of looks at that. They just look at, okay, what's the cheapest flight from Australia to Heathrow or something like that.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, I'm going home in September, not September, in the summer, and I'm literally looking for flights now. So I'm just trying to find where I can go first.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope you find something that's not going to cripple your bank balance too much.
Yeah.
One of the biggest difficulties, obviously, moving to Australia is trying to get a visa in the first place, and you got two. So, I guess two questions: which one was the more difficult to do, and how did you go about doing them?
I would say the 190. I'd say purely because we had an immigration agent to help us with the 482, and they basically did everything, and that was paid for by the school. So it didn't really impact me at all. I just gave them the paperwork that they wanted, and that was it. Whereas the 190, it took way longer. It was a really long waiting game, and it's not guaranteed either. So I feel like I just paid just over $4,000 and might not see anything.
Yeah.
So it's
Worried about, have I done something wrong, or
it's
was
a
it complicated? As a teacher, I mean, I looked at the forms. I didn't get
Mhm.
them. I didn't do them myself because an agent did them. I
Yeah,
just kind of had to sign at the end.
yeah,
But I looked at some of the stuff and I was like, this is not beyond me, but I was time poor. It wasn't something that I was interested in. If someone was, for me, willing to do it for a reasonable price.
yeah. I feel like I had a friend who did it just before me, and hers came through. So I kind of trusted her.
Yeah.
And it was fine. There were some questions where if I didn't have a friend to guide me, I probably would have done it wrong.
Yeah.
So it probably is best to get an agent to do it, but I did it. So
Yeah, I completely understand. Pay a friend, or I've already got
yeah,
a friend that's done exactly the same thing. Like, if I
yeah,
had a friend that did that, no one. When I told people that I wanted to move to Australia, they were like, "Why?"
yeah, no,
Like, I had no one in my friends list. Well, I had a couple of friends, perhaps that from university that I hadn't seen in about 10 years. But you can't really go, "Hey, excuse me,
can you
what
help?
visa are you on? Can you help me with mine, please?" Like,
Yeah,
although saying that, I did chat to one guy. He's a doctor. I never actually asked him who did his visa, but the only thing I did know, we went to school together. He did far better on his A levels than I could ever do, but I beat him on the English test, and I was
that English,
hungover.
that
So
English test is
there you
really
go.
hard though, really hard for
Which
an
one
English.
did you do?
I only got not superior. I got the second one because of my speaking, and which is
Okay.
that was I got everything else, the reading, writing, and listening. I got the top marks. My speaking, I just speak very fast, so I don't think the computer understood what I said.
Did you do the PTE then?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I went back, or my friends have asked me to like any suggestions, I said if you're from like down south where you enunciate your words, I'd say you could do the PTE. But whatever accent I do have, obviously doesn't get understood very well. But
Yeah,
yeah.
that was the thing that I got told. Two things. The first one was accents. You know,
Hmm.
it's a bit prohibitive, I guess, if you do have quite a strong accent that you're
Hmm.
trying to. You know, that's just what they're looking for. That's the requirements of the test. Sorry, you know, you have to be like an actor
Yeah, exactly.
and just put on an accent a little bit. But the other one, a guy told me, remember it's a test. As a teacher, we know from tests you're trying to show off as much as possible.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to pick a word, perhaps pick a better word and don't repeat the
Hmm.
same kinds of words. So yeah, I think that helps me.
Oh yeah.
But horses for courses. What
I
what do you teach?
I'm a prep teacher, so
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Massively in demand at the moment.
Yeah, well, I'm technically an early childhood. I have an early childhood teacher degree, so I can
Mhm.
do that. But at the moment, I just not just, but I teach prep in a school.
Yeah,
So
no,
yeah,
fantastic.
very
I think even just to teach prep, you have to have an early childhood background as well. Because it's to do
yeah,
with the age. They're funny, aren't they? It's to do with the ages that
yeah,
are on your qualifications.
yeah. It's very different here because of the ages we start school and the ages they start school. It is very funny. It took me a lot to have evidence to say that I'm an early childhood teacher. Yeah.
Okay. What was the most difficult part about getting that evidence, or even just getting the 190 visa in general?
Waiting and going back and forth and constantly, I think the university probably was sick of me by the end of it, because I was just constantly asking for things. I hadn't
Hmm.
been to university for almost 10 years, so they were probably like, who is this girl and why is she constantly talking to us? But yeah, I feel like that was hard. And also my VIT took a very long time as well, which is the Victoria Institute of Teaching.
Hmm.
That was a bit of a struggle. I think the cost as well was difficult. I didn't realise how much extra fees there were going to be, like the medical fee, the English
Yeah.
test, the accreditation. We knew there'd be extra, but we didn't realise how much extra it would be. So
Yeah.
definitely
You just
budget.
kind of think to yourself, don't you? Oh, I don't know what a 190 visa is something in the
Yeah,
4,000 and something dollars.
yeah.
And then you go, oh, yeah, but you need to get your skills assessed.
Hmm.
Who's the accrediting board if you're an early childhood? Is it still AITSL or is it someone different?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
It is eight, so yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So again, there's a fee for that. You
yeah,
know, there's sometimes there's fees, the little weird ones. If you don't work in a school and you need a piece of evidence, kind of, you know, when you get it copied and they certify that it's a copy and they
yes.
sign it. If
Hmm.
because we can use our school principals or head
Hmm.
teachers to sign that off. So it's
Yeah,
great. This is free. I went to one place and he literally it was 5 documents and all he did was stamp it and then sign his name. The whole process took less than 5 minutes, and that was like 120 quid.
yeah.
I just sat there and I was handing my money over. Like he didn't even buy me dinner. Like I
No.
just,
They're very fussy over here. You have to be a particular person to sign off, which is,
yeah.
yeah.
Or even I had something else that I needed to get signed for Sierra for her passport. They have JPs, so Justice of the Peace,
Oh,
whatever
yeah,
the freaking hell that
yeah.
means. And you just go in, it's a lovely older person, and they just have a little chat. And the same thing, they stamp it and then
Hmm.
they sign it for you, and it's all done. But they're free. They're a
Yeah,
volunteer service. Like, why don't
yeah.
we have that in the UK?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's not advertised as much here. But I know it exists now because my friend did use them, but they should be advertised a bit more. But yeah, they
Yeah,
should be in the UK as well.
yeah, absolutely. You
Yeah.
say justice of the peace, they're like, nah, there's no money to be made
No,
out of that.
exactly.
Aside from all of the visa woes, settling into your new life in Australia, what has been the biggest challenge?
So for us, like I said before, we bought a dog before we came. Getting him over here was, I was this close to leaving him behind. I love him so much, but it was so difficult. Obviously we have him now and it's well worth it, but the paperwork was tedious. The amount of back and forth. They changed the quarantine from 10 days to 30 days. So then so we had to wait another extra 20 days, had to pay for extra
Yeah,
quarantine.
that's the biggest part. Sod the waiting. I don't mind waiting. Just don't charge me for it.
Yeah. Oh, it was not fun. but he's here now and he will stay here and hopefully he lives for a very long time.
How has he found the adapting to new Australian life? Because they're a lot funnier about letting dogs off leads and stuff like that.
Yeah, luckily in the CBD, I thought it would be harder to find places to do take him for off lead walks and things. There are a lot of parks, but it's just chaotic. There's a lot of people obviously being in the city, so it took him a while to kind of get used to all the noises, all the people, like all the other dogs. Like it's just a very busy life. But there's way more beaches and stuff, like, which he absolutely loves. So
Yeah, my dog, I'm just training him to get used to water because he's a
yeah,
bit of a sook. I mean,
yeah,
I've figured out now, as long as I throw a ball in there, he's
yeah,
definitely going to go in.
yeah,
So now he's pretty good on, where did we went somewhere, there was a billabong, so like a lake that fills up when it rains. And yeah, he's happy in there, but I just like the whole idea of being able to take him to the beach.
yeah, yeah.
But we'll see. I'll have to train him up a bit more. Yeah, my previous dog that we left in the UK because I guess I never really thought it through, the whole moving them across process. It was the cat mainly. He was a bit older
Yeah,
and he didn't even like going to the vet, which was 800 meters away.
yeah.
So I don't know how he would have ever
Got
coped, and it would have just crushed me really if I'd have thought to myself, no, crushed me financially, but also morally. If selfishly I'd wanted to bring him over here, and then the worst had happened, then you're like, great, like,
yeah,
we had loads of people that would take him in the UK, so you're going to get a great life, mate, and we're probably going to be able to see you again because
yeah.
they just live with Sam's parents now, so
That's
it's
good. Yeah,
no change. They probably like it more.
yeah,
If I'm
exactly.
honest. How has living in Australia, your new Australian life, how has it met or lived up to your expectations?
Just in every way, I'd say. Like, I came here for a better, happier life. I am way happier. I can't, like, just the lease of life we were talking about before, like, it's just made me more grateful for everything. And just, yeah, it's not that bad. It was 36 degrees today in Melbourne, so the sun's, obviously, we got El Nino or whatever it's called.
Nah, it's La Nina
La
again. I've
Nina.
had 3 summers here and they've all been La Nina, which is the
Oh,
wet one.
really?
I've
Well,
never had a normal summer yet. And do you know what they said? They said this summer, they were like, oh, it's going to be an El Nino one this year. And as a geography teacher, when I used to teach about El Nino and La Nina, we were like, no, it's an every 4-year cycle. And then they kind of switch. And I'm like, well, I've been here for 3 and I've had 2 La Ninas. And now we're about to get an El Nino, which is still not an El Nino. It's now a La Nina. And I'm like,
yeah.
I know nothing about geography anymore.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just Australian weather just can't make it mind it. But
Well, apparently, in Melbourne as well, your 4 seasons and stuff. Have you experienced that yet? 4 seasons in a day?
like, yeah, no, definitely that is it. That does exist, but it's been way hotter than I expected it to be, which is nice. I love the warm weather, so I'm here for it. But yeah, it will rain and then it'll be sunny. It is more like a storm, like a tropical storm, but it's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, the first storm that we had, one of my friends said, you'll love storms here. You'll love it when it rains because it just it does its thing, goes crazy, and then within 30 minutes of it finishing, you're like, what happened there?
Yeah, it's
And
fine.
then, and especially in Brisbane in the summer, it's just dry. So it's not even what happened there. It's like, where did
Yeah.
I know where the water went, but like, it's not on the street anymore. It's all dried up.
Yeah.
Is there anything that has surprised you about the moving process?
I'd say the only thing that in a good way is I saw TikTok after TikTok about how difficult it'd be to find a house. Again, I might just be very lucky, but I went to two viewings, and especially with a dog as well, it should be much more difficult. And I think the second one we got, but then I declined that to come to this building that just accepted us straight away instead of waiting. So I got 2 out of the 3 that I went for. So luckily, it's been much easier than I was told, so it was good.
Yeah, I thankfully as well. I see all of those things about how difficult it is, and I'm not saying that it is easy
No.
at all, but most of the people that I seem to speak to do find somewhere to live.
Yeah.
I mean, it just makes me wonder what what or who are these people that are finding it so difficult? And, here's something that perhaps can help them. Is there anything that you think that you did in that process or had that perhaps made you stand out as a candidate that would have been more successful?
I'd say I see a lot of people, they go and they just don't talk to anyone. Whereas like I went and I was like, I'm going to ask you questions even if I don't care about them. I'm just going to make sure you know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, that's the type of person I am. Not everyone's like that.
Yeah,
I feel
absolutely.
that does help, definitely. And I think as well that we own a property in the UK as well. So financial stability kind of helps in our favour as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good tip, and that's something that we obviously did. We were in an Airbnb when we first came here, and yeah, the clock was ticking, if you like, in the sense of, I don't think we would have been a problem like we would have been on the street. We'd have
Yeah.
just found another Airbnb, but
Mm-hmm.
it's an extra cost, and we were exactly the same. We'd go to places, and yeah, we just looked like we were interested.
Yeah.
There's so many people just going around and just looking and not really saying a lot, and perhaps they weren't very interested in the property. Even the ones that we weren't interested in, like I said, we did it anyway, just in
Yeah.
case they were the only ones that responded back. At least it would have been somewhere to
Exactly.
live and not having to, couch surf or Airbnb surf. So
Yeah.
that's a really, really good tip, and I don't know why more people don't do it. Do you know what it is? All those people that make the TikToks are probably the really quiet people that go along,
Yeah.
and yeah, they're too busy sitting there filming on their phones
Yeah.
to talk to the people that perhaps are trying to let the property. And then, I didn't get it. So do you know what? I've got all this video footage. I'll just
I'll just
whinge.
make TikTok. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
They
that'll
probably
get me
just go,
somewhere to live.
yeah, they probably have somewhere to live and they're just going to those for fun anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just TikTok bait. TikTok
Yeah.
bait. Do you have any regrets about any part of the process?
I wouldn't say regrets because we have a very nice life here, but I'd say we could have waited and gone straight for the 190 visa. But hindsight is a good thing as well because I wouldn't necessarily have had a job straight away. So the sponsorship was a good leg up, but knowing now how much teachers and early childhood teachers are in demand, I feel like I could have just waited, got the 190 and just made a life of my own instead of being sponsored. But I do love the school that I'm in, so it's not put me in any harm. And
Just
also,
out of interest, are you still working at the school that initially sponsored you?
yeah, like I'm still there whether it's sponsorship or not. Like I do love it there, because I know a lot of people go straight into permanent residency just because they don't want to be held. Like when you're sponsored, you feel like you owe them something, which you technically do.
Well, you technically are.
Yeah, exactly. So I enjoyed it anyway. We just kind of started to do the residency visa just because we knew we wanted to stay and we knew it was going to take a long time, but it came through quicker than we expected. Still a long time, but quicker. And yeah, no, I really like it there. So I'm just going to stay, and it's given me really good opportunities. So
I'd have to agree as well because I'm still at the same school that I joined, that I got the job in hotel quarantine, and especially for teachers, we're used from the UK. We're used to having to teach a lesson and jump through so many hoops just to try and get a job, whereas here they just kind of chat to you. Like mine was literally on Zoom just to chat. Here you go. I was sat on the toilet because it was the only quiet place in the hotel that I could field a bit of a conversation.
yeah,
I wasn't on the toilet. I was in a chair in the toilet.
yeah,
I
you were
like to
in
say
the
I was on the
bathroom.
toilet. Yeah, I like to. It sounds weirder and funnier if I've got 100% success rate of getting jobs in toilets. So I guess for people that don't shoot their shot and try and get a job over here, even if it is as a step up on a temporary visa or on a sponsored visa, do you know what? You never know. It might actually be your favorite job that you've ever had, particularly as we for both of us in our situations. Not that I didn't really like the job in the UK, but it's like I don't really see myself doing this forever.
Yeah.
Let's see what else there is. Have a little look. Seek.com. Is that where? Oh, that's where I had a look anyway. So much easier to find jobs on there. What are the plans for Kim in the future? Now you've got your permanent residency,
We're looking at citizenship, obviously in I think it's 3 or 4 years. When it is. Honestly, don't know. I hope to be here. It's difficult, obviously, like as you know, with children, like making a family when you're not with your own family is difficult. So we're kind of going to have to decide what is important and how difficult it is. But I would really regret not staying here. So hopefully, fingers crossed, citizenship and staying here. But I know as much as you don't like Perth, but we went on holiday to Perth and it seems very family orientated and very homely. So Melbourne or Perth, possibly.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a long-standing thing now about me and
Yeah.
Perth. Do you know what? It's still the same. I've never been to Perth and I don't really know. It's just I didn't choose it because for me, it was a little bit too remote. And thinking about it geographically, I just thought to myself, if I can't find a job in Perth, I'm a little bit stuffed in the short term because there's nowhere else I can quickly go. And that's one of the reasons why I went to Brisbane, in the sense that, geographically, I can't afford Sydney. I can't really afford Melbourne. I don't even know how I can afford Brisbane now sometimes. But at least if I don't find somewhere straight away, I've got a shorter move to places where I potentially could find something. Just, make the loop a little bit bigger and I might be able to find something. But I'm sure when I eventually do travel all the way to the other side of Australia and visit Perth, I will love it. But now it's just the thing where when people say to me, "Oh, you don't like Perth," it's like, well, you think I don't, so I'm going to wind you up now because I've got that kind of personality. Give me anything that I can wind you up and I will abuse it because it's funny to me.
I mean, it works.
If you could do it all again, what would you change?
Cliche, like you said as well, doing it earlier. Maybe doing it earlier. If we could have settled ourselves a bit more prior to COVID, did our farm work first. I don't know. There's a lot of variables that we could have changed, but everything happens for a reason. So we're here permanently now, and whatever we did got us here. So yeah,
that's the unfortunate nature of it, isn't it? You're always sitting there thinking to yourself, if I'd have done the other thing, it would automatically been better. But no one ever contemplates what would it be like if it was worse. I think it's just the inaction, really, isn't it? It's just, there are probably bits of my life where I think I didn't really do anything and I could have done something. That's when I wish I had done something. But choosing, should I have done this over choosing that? I mean, you're right. It's a difficult call. One of the things that I say, my nieces and nephews are kind of just coming of age now, hitting that finishing school or very, very close to. And much to my sister's absolute distress, who at first wanted them to, they've got to go to university. And I'm like, Sally, I can't advise my nieces and nephews going to university with all of the debt that they're going to get. If they don't know what it is that they want to do. And she says, what do you mean? I said, well, here's one thing that's definitely going to give them some life experience. Go and just travel the world a bit.
Oh yeah.
Like my one of my nieces, she wants to be a writer. She wants to perhaps go into journalism. And I kind of think to myself, you don't need to go to university to do that, to learn how to write. It's not going to be bad, but you don't need to. It's not like wanting to be a teacher. You can't really be a teacher without a degree. I said to my sister, do you know what the best thing she can do? If she also kind of has this travel bug, like a lot of people do, go and travel and go and write about your experiences. Because at the end of it all, however long you decide to travel for, if you then went to an employer who said, do you have any examples or, of stuff of your writing? Yeah, here you go. I've got a blog or whatever it is that they've created. And then God forbid anyone ever just decided to read it and she had a bit of a following and she go, and there's a few thousand or however many people that watch or read her stuff. And you go, they seem to like my writing.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
That's the proof, isn't it? Rather than, I went to university and I got a 2-1.
Yeah.
No one's ever read it except for the lecturer.
No. Yeah. None of that really matters. Again, like in our job it does, but yeah.
We live in a world now, don't we, where a lot of jobs you don't need a degree for.
No.
So, and the world is still there.
Yeah.
And university will still be there afterwards as well if you decide that you don't want to.
If you want to do it afterwards.
Try and experience some of it. What advice do you have for people also wanting to make the move?
It depends who you are. So if you are in your 20s and you want to kind of live the city life, I would say definitely live, in the city, obviously. I know a few people who have moved straight away out in the sticks a bit and been like, this isn't the life for me. But obviously it's not the life you wanted because you've not moved to where you want to be. Like if you come into Melbourne, moving to like Paran. I know a lot of people move to St Kilda, but personally it's not for me. It's more of like a tourist backpacker place, and it's somewhere you might go for the beginning, but it's not somewhere I would suggest to live. But somewhere in the city where you can get a feel for things, where it's a good base to travel around the Great Ocean Road, Peninsula. You can get the train to loads of different places. I don't know, just think about where you're basing yourself, because I think that really has an impact of how much you're going to enjoy it. Yeah.
Have a little bit of a plan, have some goals, maybe set some expectations, and appreciate that all of those things can change, but at least you're not kind of sitting there bumbling through, because that literally describes our lives in the UK. That's what we were doing, just kind of bumbling through, not really having a goal, or thinking the goal isn't really achievable for where we are now. The world is your oyster. And I think sometimes the expectations in Australia on people aren't really as high.
No.
Especially for a 20-something-year-old, you speak to people and they're like, I just travel around in my camper.
Yeah, 100%.
And like, that's my life and it's freaking awesome. And I kind of sit there and I'm like, I wish I'd done that a little bit as well.
Even like, not saying that any job isn't good, but people are waitresses, people make juice, go work in a juice bar and have the best life because they get paid loads, the shifts are good. Like, I feel like as long as you choose something that you enjoy, you kind of make the best out of that life, and it works. Yeah.
What do you think about the latest announcement that the average wage in Australia is $100,000?
I don't think it's true, but that, like, it's nice. That is a high amount. I don't know. There are obviously not many teachers out there because we don't get paid $100,000, but I think, like,
do your time at the top end of the scale.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. I'm not there yet, but it's a good place to be because based on like the UK's average salary, I don't know what that is, but it's way, I assume, much lower. It's a good place to kind of, again, it's like setting goals. It's kind of like, well, that's achievable for the majority of people, so why can't
that's halfway?
Yeah.
And also, if you live in a world where you've got a partner and hey, both of you are on that, or more,
exactly.
You have a really comfortable life for a little bit less.
Yes, it's a good life. Yeah.
Thanks, Kim, for sharing your journey with us, and I hope it's given you all a greater insight in what it's like to move to and live in Australia. If you want to see more of what our life is like in Australia, then make sure to check out our YouTube channel @ThatJohnstonLife. And if perhaps you're a teacher too, or you've been inspired to see if you can make the move yourself, make sure to check out our friends True Blue Migration Services on their website at www.truebluemigration.com. I know personally that since we started the channel more than 3 years ago, together we've been able to help hundreds of people just like you realise your dreams in moving to Australia. Make sure you mention us and fill out their free visa eligibility assessment today. See you next time.